Hi folks, Julian here, as always, and welcome to week 8 of the course. As is usual, it's incredibly hard to believe that we've come this far already and that we really don't have very much time at all left to go. Only a few more assignments and only one more major assignment, the RIP, or Rhetoric in Practice, both creative project and essay that I'll be discussing in this video. First, though, I want to thank those of you, most of you, who turned in your final drafts for the RA, not all of which I've gotten to already, many of which I've read, and which I'm extremely pleased with the progress that many of you have made. I'm not going to be commenting extensively, or as extensively as I've commented in the past on those final drafts. I'll make some kind of general comments in the comments section, but the actual comments in the text I won't be going into in lots of detail. That said, if you're interested in getting my comments and actually discussing them, I'm more than happy to do that, and what we should do is arrange a Skype or chat through Canvas in which we actually sit down together and set aside 20 to 30 minutes to go through paragraph by paragraph your essays and to talk through some of the things that you found difficult, found challenging, had trouble with, and for me to kind of elaborate a little bit on my general comments that I will already have made. So definitely let me know if that's something that you want or you think will benefit you, and we'll arrange to do that as soon as possible. If not, then just look at my general comments. Again, we can chat if you want sort of a sense of grade-wise, how you're doing, any of those things. I'm more than happy to kind of get to exchange emails or to arrange chats to discuss those. Okay, so there's that. That's one thing that I wanted to cover. The second, so basically there are two other things that I wanted to cover with this video. The first one is the RIP, which I'm going to be describing in some depth, and will be something that we also have to work through together in the coming weeks, so that you get a fuller sense of what that actually implies, what that assignment is. And then the second part of the video, I'll just discuss the assignments for this week. So, okay, here we go. The RIP, or Rhetoric in Practice. This is an assignment that is actually going to have two parts to it. The first part, and the kind of one that's often a little bit confusing and difficult for people initially, is that you are actually going to do a creative text of some kind. Now, what this kind of creative text means is really what you're going to be doing is taking a lot of the skills that you've built up already in this class, especially in particular kind of understanding of genre, and you're going to actually select a kind of creative genre. I'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. Select a creative genre and then produce a creative text of your own that fulfills some of the requirements and conventions of that genre. So to just give you a kind of rough idea of what some people have done in the past, I've had students who have, in fact, written noir short stories. So they have kind of understood the genres in this class, which we've discussed endlessly, the kind of genre of the femme fatale, some of the stylistic elements of a hard-boiled noir American detective novel, all of these things, and they have in fact then written a short story using those conventions themselves. Other people have done things like built or designed websites for, say, an understanding of The Long Goodbye, or they've written movie reviews based on the style of, say, a New York Times in-depth movie review. They've written magazine articles, too. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Okay, people have done made commercials, for example, that have been sort of trying to sell something that has to do with the noir genre. Kind of crucial to all this is that what you're doing really is you're choosing or selecting a genre that has kind of identifiable conventions, and that you are then going to fulfill those conventions in some way that bears somehow on the kind of content that we've dealt with in this course, i.e. noir. Um, so again, those are some examples, and I'll be posting a few kind of examples from previous classes to give you an idea of the kinds of things that people have done for me in the past. But that's the kind of thing you should be thinking. A short sketch, a short movie, if that's kind of where your talents lie, or a short story, as I said, or a fan website for, um, you know, the TV show Sherlock Holmes. Anything that you can select that has something to do with our genre of noir, and that you can find examples of the genre to imitate. Because as you'll see on Thursday, that's actually going to be part of the first assignment, is to find examples of your genre that then are going to provide you with models to kind of work from as you set off and do your own creative project. So the RIP, as I said, is composed of these two elements. One is the actual creative project itself, the short story, the short video, the screenplay, the website, the magazine article. Any of these things are fine, and we can discuss those one-on-one in more detail. So you have on one hand that creative project, and on the other hand, you have a kind of academic critical essay based on the kinds of things that we've already done in the first critical reading response paper or the RA that you've just completed. You're going to write a 4 to 5 page paper in which you actually discuss the process by which you went about creating and doing your creative project. So you're going to kind of explain the rhetorical choices that you made using evidence. The evidence in this case are going to be those models of the genre that you're actually fulfilling, to kind of show how you went about becoming your own rhetor, creative rhetor in the project. So that's going to sound a little bit abstract. Again, I think it's going to help once you actually start trying to figure out for Monday what your RIP is going to be, what kind of creative project you're going to do, what plays to your talents, what are you excited about producing. Things are going to get a little bit clearer once you actually start sort of engaging with that. But just now to understand, basically the RIP is composed of these two parts. One, the creative project itself, and then on the other hand, this academic critical response in which kind of you do to your own text in a way what we've done to The Long Goodbye or to Double Indemnity and these other movies that we've watched. So you become your own critic. Okay, definitely if that's confusing, send me an email. I'm more than happy to respond. But those are really the things, the basic kind of things. And you can also look up under week 10, I've already posted the kind of basic description of what the RIP is. So if you want that in text, go check that out and then email me with kind of any confusing questions any confusions or questions you might have, and I'm happy to respond. Okay, so we have the RIP, and that's kind of the initial building up assignments that are going to lead to that final project, which is due on Monday of week 10. You're going to see we're going to start that already on Monday. Okay, now we're going to go on to the assignments for this week. You have 4 of them. The first one due on Monday is the second of the process reflections that you're going to have to do for the class. We've already done one of these on the initial essay. Now you're going to kind of reflect on the process of writing your rhetorical analysis paper and going through the drafting process, dealing with my comments and the kinds of things that you went through. Again, this is important because this is going to play into the kind of final process reflection for your portfolio, which is going to be due at the end of week 10. So put some work in here and you save yourself some work at the end of the quarter. Okay, so that's the first thing, and then the second assignment for Monday is the RIP or RIP proposal. Again, you're going to want to spend a little bit of time on this, really kind of thinking about, okay, what are the kinds of creative genres that I could imagine working with, that I would have fun kind of coming up with and creating, that have to do with the noir genre. If you're a writer who likes to kind of write short stories, like me, then maybe that's the genre that you want to choose. If you have absolutely no interest in short stories, but you often like to go to the movies and you read movie reviews, then maybe you want to choose a particular journal, the New York Times newspaper, say, and you want to write in the style of a New York Times kind of, movie critic, a review of a recent movie in the noir genre. Um, the important thing for this, and you'll see this under the assignment, is to be as specific as possible. Don't just say, oh, I want to create a commercial. Instead of being that general, say, I want to create a particular kind of commercial, which you can describe, that's going to be played on a particular kind of TV channel, and which therefore will be structured in a particular way to appeal to a particular kind of audience. That's a strong proposal because that's going to allow you to deal with all the things that we've already discussed over the quarter, having to do with things like how particular rhetorical choices affect an intended audience in a particular way. So again, if you want to write a short story, that's great, but what you want to propose is, say, the particular kind of short story, maybe a noir or mystery story that you want to write, and where that short story might be published, and what kind of audience you're going to try to target to enjoy and understand your story. And it's going to be very different if you are writing for an audience of your peers and want to publish a story in a UCI literary journal. So that's going to be read predominantly by other UCI students. That's going to be very different than if you say, oh, I want to write a story for The New Yorker, which is a much larger national magazine and has a very different kind of audience than a smaller UCI-based literary journal. So you want to be as specific as possible with this RIP proposal, because that's the kind of thing that you're then going to be able to write about in your critical essay about your RIP, why you made the choices that you did, given the context and the audience that you were trying to target. Okay, so those are the two assignments for Monday, the process reflection and the RIP proposal. And then for Thursday, you have two more, the long goodbye genre response. You've already done two of these. This is the third, where you're going to kind of write a blurb, which you'll see described. And these are, what they're really doing is training you to do the kind of work that you're going to have to do with the RIP. Choosing a genre, or in this case I'm assigning you a genre, and then fulfilling the requirements of that form. So when you wrote your news article, what you all did is sort of used your understanding, kind of rough understanding of what a news article sounded like, what its conventions were, and you tried to actually write in that style. And that's exactly the kind of thing that you're going to be doing for the RIP. And the fourth and final assignment, the one for Thursday, is that you're going to actually find examples of the genre that you're going to be working with in your RIP. So if you want to write a short story published in the New Yorker for this particular kind of audience that actually reads the New Yorker, now what you're going to go out and do is you're going to find me and find yourself examples of that genre that are then going to provide you with the models for how you're going to go about producing your own creative text, your RIP. This is probably kind of the most important step actually for the RIP, because it's the step that's going to provide you the models that you're going to try to emulate or imitate for your own project. And that's going to be kind of part of the process that you're going to describe in the academic essay about your RIP. How you use those models to make your own choices to produce your creative text. So again, that's a lot. We went over a bunch of stuff, but again, as always, if you have more questions, especially now on the RIP as we gear up towards that, it's going to be due on the Monday of week 10, please let me know, send me emails, we can arrange time to chat, and also especially if you do want comments on your RA papers, your final drafts, let me know. We'll do that. We'll set up a long extended period where we can just talk and really get into some detail on the particularities of your papers. Okay, I hope that wasn't too much. I look forward to getting to talking with many of you about your RIPs and to getting your proposals. This is kind of the fun part of the class for me because I get to read your creative work in addition to kind of seeing how you've developed as critical readers and understanders of your work. So I'm excited. I hope you are. I look forward to those and to talking to all of you soon.